a lot of different agencies, you would think that somewhere along the line, somebody must have raised alarm bells or realized that, hey, this is very urgent.
Apparently, over the last 10 years, there have been at least 8 cases that were not known to social services when the child was killed.
It's like you're hearing somebody who fucked up royally telling you, yeah, I'm totally committed to this. It will never happen again. It will never happen again. But it did happen, under your watch, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, who does the buck stop with when something bad happens, right? It stops with the leaders.
One part where I think we can do better as a society is just be more questioning, more critical of things that maybe feel a bit off. And don't always trust that the institutions and authorities will do what needs to be done.
Do you know how Singapore uses feng shui in its skyline? Why we release millions of mosquitoes across the island every week? The dark stories behind iconic tourist attractions like 𝗲𝗏. You don't? Don't worry. That's exactly why Tell You First is back for Season 2. Tell You First is our other podcast where we dive into the most random everyday topics from history, pop culture, science, and even the weird things you Google at 3 a.m. Like how the rap song Why You So Like That changed Singapore's music scene forever. The best part is, only one of us knows the details, while the other is just vibing, guessing, and sometimes just embarrassing themselves. So you get to learn with us, all with a good laugh. And what's special about Season 2? Guest episodes are now on video. That means you can watch us get schooled by our awesome guests like Muna, Gurmit Singh, Radio DJ Ray, science educator BioGirl MJ, and many others. Our educational humiliation, all in glorious 4K. Want it fast? Head to the 𝗎 app and watch episodes the moment they drop. Or you can catch them 1 week later on the 𝗎Entertainment YouTube channel. So do yourself a favor and use the link in the show notes, or search for Tell You First on the 𝗎app, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And now, onto the podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
How has the week been, man?
It's been a long week. Yeah, it feels
4 days, no? What long week?
Yeah. But I mean, maybe because last weekend, too much 𝗎𝗏 party.
What's the
So yeah, just waiting.
You got a
for that.
𝗎𝗏 hangover.
Correct. But but back to the grind. Right?
Back to the grind.
But this weekend, I mean, now we're already we're close to the end of the year already, right?
Halloween.
Halloween coming up.
Now you can see all the Halloween stuff in NTUC and cold storage.
Correct. People will be celebrating it next weekend, I suppose.
Next weekend,
Yeah.
It's a nice weekend. It'll be next Friday, lah.
Yeah. So what plans do you have?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, but maybe I'll just dress my kid up.
Yeah.
It'll be quite fun, huh?
But is what?
Don't know yet.
Something. I mean, cannot be too satanic, lah, right?
Nah,
I mean,
probably not.
You're a church-going man now.
No, Friday satanic. Sunday church.
There's repent on Sunday.
Saturday is the transition.
Have fun on Friday, but repent on Sunday.
Yeah, that's why. Sin on Friday, repent on Sunday.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. You got any plans?
No plans. Don't know. Like that. I don't know. Maybe it's just too. Like I said, the whole October, a lot of things are all mashed together. F1, 𝗎𝗏, then now Halloween. Wow, it's just back to back. I think at a certain point, enough partying or celebrations.
You sound like a douche, lah. You got too many things to celebrate. Too many events to go to.
Hey, I mean, we
got invited to 2 things.
Correct.
And already you douche level.
Correct. Didn't we meet somebody last weekend who told us that they had that one party that we went to during F1 was the 5th party they attended, 6th party they attended that weekend.
Yeah. Correct,
so we're not even at anywhere close to the level of being partied out.
The 6th party they attended on that day.
The day,
That day, yeah.
But we're different now. Different. I don't prioritize partying.
Don't let it get to your head, Terrence.
Yes.
Stay humble.
Stay humble.
Stay humble. We have stuff to talk about.
Heavy stuff.
Heavy stuff. Yeah. So the first topic is something that has happened in 2020 at the crux of it, but recently there was a report that covered the details that led to the tragic death of Megan Khung. And I think it's a case that most people might be aware of.
Yeah.
Basically, there's this young girl who was abused for over a year by her biological mother and her then boyfriend, and unfortunately passed away in February 2020, 4 years old. And it is just a messed up case. The investigations have been ongoing. The mother and the boyfriend have been charged.
Convicted already.
Charged and convicted and sentenced. But what happened in the past week was a release of a report undertaken by the government to look at how this case happened and how it unfolded.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I mentioned, most people knew about the case. I think when we first read it, when the details came out, it was horrific.
Yeah. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's horrible. And I mean, when you saw this report, I didn't know this report was coming out anytime soon.
Yeah, I wasn't aware. I only got aware of it because of the press conference that all the agencies, Masagos and all the agencies had.
Yeah, they did. So I mean, basically, this happened over a year from March 2019 to February 2020. And I mean, what the report highlighted was 5 key findings, 7 recommendations, and essentially, you look at it, it's just like a horrible combination of mistakes here and there that led to this.
Yeah.
Like when you look at all this unfold, before we dive into the details, what do you feel, or what do you reckon?
I think in psychology 101 in school, there's in university, you learn all this concept called diffusion of responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Where you think that because there's more people or more agencies involved, and I think the story stemmed from a murder that happened of a person called, I believe her name was 𝗬𝗲𝗏 𝗦𝗫. And basically, there was this murder that happened, not in broad daylight, but in a very, in the middle of an urban area, right?
In New York, right?
I can't remember where, but in the US. But basically, there were high rises everywhere, and there was a murder happening right there on the ground, and there was screaming, and a lot of people were alerted to something, but nobody did anything, and it was a lot of people never understood how the community of people living there just sort of heard the screams and just sort of ignored them or moved on with life. And one of the psychology theories that people came up with is called diffusion of responsibility, right? Where because you see that nobody else is reacting to something bad or strange that's happening, and everyone just sort of thinks, because nobody else is reacting, that means it can't be anything, right? And they end up, the responsibility to act is diffused amongst the community, and nobody does anything, and the murder happened multiple times. It was a horrible murder, yeah. But it became something that is often taught in psychology classes, the concept of diffusion of responsibility. And when I listening to the press conference and reading the report, I see quite a bit of that going on here, where it's a lot of different agencies. You would think that somewhere along the line, somebody must have raised alarm bells or realized that, hey, this is very urgent. But it seems like there was a case of diffusion of responsibility where everyone thought, there's someone else is going to look into this, or somebody else should be making the police report and everything. And a lot of lapses therefore along the way.
Yeah, so maybe just to run through a slightly more detailed chronology of events before we go into the different agencies and all that were involved. So for context, Megan was born to the mom and her then boyfriend, who was in jail at the time. I mean, the first few years of Megan's life. But in 2017, 2018, Megan was enrolled in a preschool, the 𝗤𝗲𝗏 Child Development Center, run by Beyond Social Services. So the names, there are a lot of agencies involved, and we'll try to distill it down. So everything was fine. Early 2019, after the mother moves in with her the new boyfriend, on 19th March, teachers found bruises on Megan's body, and mom admitted to disciplining Megan, and there was a temporary care plan set up for Megan to live with her grandmother. 5th April 2019, the HSCDC filed a report to EDTA 17 days late with details that there was a breach of the plan because Megan didn't live with her grandmother anymore. By September 2019, the mother took Megan back. She was withdrawn from preschool on 17 September, and for 4 months, no agency locates her. 17 January 2020, finally the grandmother, after being urged by social workers, files a police report. I believe it was in September that the grandmother was already told to file a police report, but she didn't for fear of rupturing the relationship with her daughter and being cut off from her grandmother. Then the police classified it as low-risk discipline and take no urgent action. 22nd February, so slightly a month later, Megan is killed by a punch to her stomach by the mother's boyfriend. And the body was left in the condo where they were staying for 3 months while they stayed in makeshift areas and all the while they were figuring out how to dispose the body. And in June, I believe, with a custom metal bin, they burnt the body. And the bin has never been found. They disposed of the ashes.
Yeah.
And this is not even talking about the abuse that went on over the past year. And there are some articles that discipline it. It's just disgusting. And it stretches from physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, forcing her to sleep alone in a planter box on the outside, naked, because, she would soil her pants and dirty her clothes. And it's just fucked up beyond belief. So that was the timeline. Like what you said, right? There were so many agencies. Like, do you recall, or do you have it in front of you, the agencies that were involved?
You already covered some of them already.
Yeah, so there's Beyond Social Services, which runs the preschool that Megan went to. There is the ECDA, which I guess is the governing body for early childhood development.
𝗲𝗏,
𝗲𝗏. The Child Protective Service, the CPS, under the Ministry for Social and Family Affairs. Then there is 𝗲𝗲, which is a Child Protection Specialist Center. So basically, from what I understand, if BSS reports a case, 𝗲𝗲, which deals with low to medium cases of child abuse, they can help with that because they are a Child Protection Specialist Center. Then there's the Singapore Police Force, who were brought in when the police report was filed. So when you said that, along the way, there was escalation, but then there was lack of follow-up. And initially I thought if this happened in 2020, there's COVID. But COVID kicked in like February 2020. This was happening the whole year before.
Yeah.
So with all those agencies, and I mean, there were the 5 main findings that talked about like what went wrong, which we can get into. But I mean, your kid right now is 5, right? Are you aware of these agencies?
Yes, I am aware, especially 𝗲𝗏.
And essentially, my kid is not old enough to be in the early childhood development system, but 𝗲𝗏, what's your understanding of it?
I mean, whatever you think MOE does for schools, 𝗲𝗏 does for preschools.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I guess that's something I found out is that, MOE doesn't take care of like preschool education.
Yeah.
It's under the purview of 𝗲𝗏. So it's a bit different. Whereas MOE has a lot of like rules and regulations in place. Whereas 𝗲𝗏 kind of works with, private operators, public operators of preschools and all that.
But then I've heard you also say that the private preschools are not regulated. So what's the gap there?
So 𝗲𝗏 doesn't, as I understand it, 𝗲𝗏 has a lot of, doesn't have regulations. They have a lot of recommendations.
So it's not like MOE.
Certain standards that they need to follow. So whereas MOE is a regulator, right? So there are a set of rules that you have to follow. You can't not follow them if you want to operate as a school.
Yeah.
So for 𝗲𝗏's side, there's I don't know if you classify it, but probably in a sense maybe less teeth to take enforcement action and things like that against schools, right? Yeah.
Okay. And I think, because I've heard many times that the preschool area is not regulated and all, and 𝗲𝗏 seems like almost consultative.
Yeah.
Right. And then there was a press conference that was held. There was Masagos, who was the then minister for who under whom this fell.
Yeah.
Then there were representatives from BSS, CPS, the SPF, the police force. And they all delivered their statements, which it checked all the boxes. But when you were watching the statements and all, what was going through your mind?
Actually, quite frustrating to watch. You hear a lot of instances. Masagos apologized, and they mentioned that they're very saddened and everything, right? But a lot of it feels like almost like bureaucracy speaking, right? A lot of the language seems to be, I find that a lot of the language seems to be quite passive in the way they talk about things, about falling short, as opposed to outright it's failure on certain parts to do certain things. And there's a lot of talking about commitments and what they want to do, and the steadfast conviction that every child deserves to be safe. But knowing everything that happened along the way, right? And like what you mentioned, it's a whole year-long process, right?
Yeah.
And a number of times that this was things, agencies tried to escalate things, but for various reasons, it just fell through the cracks and all. It's frustrating to listen to. It's like you're hearing somebody who, fucked up royally telling you, this, I'm totally committed to this. It will never happen again. It will never happen again. But it did happen, under your watch, right? And what exactly are the bigger implications or the big changes that are going to be made to that, under your watch, that this will never happen again. And that's why I felt a tinge of frustration listening to a lot of the different agencies saying they accept the findings and they'll do better next time and all that, right?
But what else would you expect them to say?
What I would expect is a couple of things. I think one is the language used. I think being a bit more incisive about certain points of failure where it happened. I think right now, if you read the report even, I do feel like some of it does feel almost a bit, a lot of it, frames it that, in hindsight, should have known better and all that. But at the same time, these are people working in agencies are also professionals, right? And if and this is something that you will experience at some point. I remember the first day when I dropped off my kid at preschool. It was like this was in the midst of COVID and all, right? And it felt like it was a very small thing, but it felt very momentous because it was the first time that I was sort of surrendering, my first child to the system, right? And you don't know what goes on. I mean, let's say you don't know, but you're not there all day. You don't exactly 100% know what's going on in the system, but you kind of let go and you just say, okay, the child is entering the system already, right?
Yeah.
It's you're sort of handing over the responsibility, but the partial responsibility of the care of your child to the system. And you hope that the people who are there, they're not the parents of the child, but they are professionals also, right?
Yeah.
And they will do their most best to keep your child safe and educate your child and all that. So when professionals are, telling you that, kind of like using that kind of language that I feel is very, very, very passive and not very incisive, and when really, really terrible things happen like this, and it still feels like there's a lot of bureaucratic talk going on, it does feel very frustrating to listen to.
Because if anybody were to read even just the articles, we don't have access to the apparent CCTV footage, the pictures. You just read the articles, some of which detail the abuse, which I don't want to repeat. It's fucking heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching, and of course we are parents, so just reading it, it's like, wow. But anybody who reads it without a child, it's very difficult to read. And I'm trying to, when I was listening to the press conference, I was trying to think, okay, none of those people on the panel, none of the employees in those organizations would feel good about this happening. They all probably feel like shit. And then I was trying to be like, okay, let's just, we can't just say they are all guilty and all. But at the same time, I agree with you that there was something about the press conference that was very robotic. I think there was only one person, the head of the BSS, who said something along the lines of like, this is the toughest thing he has had to deal with in his past 10 years. And that felt a little compassionate. Everyone else, understandably, was reading from a script and all, but it just felt so robotic, and the tone and demeanor of Masagos was damn annoying. It was almost like, just the things about, looking forward to the future. And he said, it is the duty of every Singaporean to do their part and all. I'm like, yo, man, yes, but that's not something to say now. It's almost like, this shit happened. And apparently, over the last 10 years, there have been at least 8 cases that were not known to social services when the child was killed. And this was in a statement from the MSF, and it was in an article from Straits Times, and Straits Times said they asked MSF for more details about his 8 children, but I just clicked on one of the examples, and it was a child who was burnt after she died when she was 2.5. Her remains were kept in a pot for 5.5 years, while the parents just covered the death up, and the parents had 10 kids. Then I was like, oh shit. And then on one hand, you hear that, previously calls to, I believe, the CPS were not automatically recorded and transcribed.
Yeah.
And now they're saying that, okay, now it is, now it's logged, now it's transcribed, because some of the key findings also was that certain calls were not logged.
Yeah.
And the agency had difficulty finding the transcript or even locating the call.
Yeah.
Then it feels like, okay, every organization has teething issues, every organization has, inefficiencies and all, but it feels like for this kind of thing, the calls is like, how is that neglected? So you listen to it, you're like, oh shit, okay, things are improving. Yes, there are new protocols in place for reporting cases since 2020 after this death was revealed. But yeah, the press conference, the way it delivered was very emotionless.
Yeah. And this is quite tricky because you don't want to throw all social workers under the bus, right? And the truth is, some of these cases can be quite tricky to identify, right? And maybe it stems also from some kind of Asian culture where, a lot of the things the Chinese saying 家丑不可外扬 and all that. So it's kind of like, don't air your dirty laundry of your family in public, and vice versa. Don't get involved in other families.
Don't judge other parents.
Don't judge other parents. And that's something actually I do agree with. Like people's different parenting styles. There's no right or wrong for a lot of times, and but at a certain point there's a line that's crossed where it turns into abuse and violence and all that, right? And that's where anyone should step in, right? So I think even as a social worker, or that it is very challenging, right, to assess some of these cases, especially if there's asymmetry of information, like in the case where they are trying to find, I think the Beyond Social Services social worker, I think it's documented in here that they were trying very hard to contact the Megan and the mother, right, and even made visits to the home and tried to get them to arrange calls and stuff like that, and then was urging the grandmother to make the police report and all these things, right?
Yeah.
So social workers have a very tough job already as is, right? So I fear that when a report like this comes out, and the feeling that lay people like me reading it walk away from it feels like there's almost like there's almost like this, like, no one individual's to blame and it's the system, but we will try and do better next time. To me, it's like, really, like, I mean, all this happened under your watch, right? Like, what concrete steps will there be to make sure that there's a systemic change that makes sure that it doesn't happen again, Because ultimately, at the end of the day, who does the buck stop with when something bad happens, right? It stops with the leaders, right?
Yeah.
Not equivalent, but literally, like, just a few days ago, there was a heist in the Louvre in Paris. The crown jewels got stolen. It's not the security guard that gets burnt. It's not the person, the receptionist or whatever, who didn't lock up properly gets burnt. The director of the Louvre has to resign, right? And I think the director has resigned, Then, because there is, as a leader of any kind of organization, you kind of set the tone for what's important in each organization. And in some cases here, I feel like, hey, was there something in the organization that prioritized efficiency or what over care for the individual people, right? Because of the lapses that occurred. And that's where when I see a press conference like this, where it's just like the leader saying, like this happened, that happened. They describe the events a lot, but I mean, the report itself describes the events in detail, but the assessment just feels like much more like, no one individual blames the system, and can do better next time.
And it's all Singaporeans need to do our part.
All Singaporeans need to do our part. And I'm like, then maybe we need to think about, is the leader setting the right tone, right, of what's important in the organization?
Yeah.
I feel it's tough for me to say this because I know that the job of a social worker is so hard.
Damn hard.
And identifying issues within individual families is also very tricky. So, that's where I'm like, okay, this press conference didn't do any favors for them either.
Yeah, and at the same time, I agree with you that it feels like the penalties and all? Because I think even under the police, there is someone who has a financial penalty and one person has resigned.
Yeah.
Right? It just feels like, what is the financial penalty? Then I think it was the SPF individual at the press conference said that the IO and all has been disciplined. The CPS is launching disciplinary report. But it sounds, and it's a bit confusing because do I want the head of all the agencies to resign? I don't think so. But at the same time, it can't just be like a penalty or some sort that is the disciplinary action lah. And yeah, maybe the press conference just felt like it's a formality, going through it, closing the case, and it just felt odd lah. I don't know what could have been done better. Maybe even if it's the delivery, that's one thing. But yeah, so that's why it was a very confusing thing to watch. Because after that, when I remember when I heard Masako say, it's on duty of every Singaporean, I'm like, fuck lah, like don't make it like everyone's responsibility. But after doing research, I do agree that we all can play a part. For example, I think there is this misconception which about who can file a report.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
And that was something that was one of the key findings of this report lah, that actually anybody can file a report.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm like, you hear people file report towards content creators all the time.
Anything also file a police report.
Anything also file police report. So then why was there such a apprehension or inertia to file a report? Because even I think one of the teachers at BSS, she took a photo of her injuries, and this was on March 19th, 2019. But she was told to delete them as they were taken without the parents' consent. But she didn't, because she felt it was important to have the record of the serious nature of the injuries, which ultimately became evidence in the trial. So, kudos to her for not deleting it, but it felt like if there were multiple instances of people feeling like, okay, something's a bit off, we are reporting to the police is part of our culture, it's part of our DNA,
Yeah, it's something that we just say, I call police.
Yeah, that's right. And in this case, there was, it just feels like, wow, it's just tragic. It's tragic.
But that's where, what I mentioned earlier, maybe there is this Asian culture of not getting involved in other families' affairs. Because I think one of the things that they raised was that the grandmother was worried that her relationship with her estranged daughter would get worse. So to clarify, it was already bad already. I think the daughter cut off contact with the grandmother, and she was afraid that going to the police would make it worse. But I think what the report did say was that, at a certain point, the priority of maintaining that daughter-grandmother relationship is a lower priority than the safety of a child after you've not seen her for months already, right?
Yeah.
And knowing that the parents have a history, or at least there's an inkling that the parents have a history of drug abuse. So that's where, it's just, that whole thing we talk about, when you hear something going on, your neighbors, a domestic quarrel that seems to be turning very violent or all, the solution is not to go and say, hey, what are you doing of each other? This is domestic violence, I'm going to call police. But even just the act of walking up to the door, ring the bell and asking for salt, right? That actually can save lives, because it makes people who are very emotionally charged and unaware that, everyone can hear them. When somebody comes and disrupts their train of thought, or at least disrupts their anger in them, and then they realize, actually, people can hear us shouting and screaming, even though they're just asking for salt. I need to be more conscious of how I'm behaving.
Yeah.
That could save lives, right? So in some ways, this focuses on the agencies, but I'm just wondering, it can't be that people living around there also, right? That there was no inkling that there was an unhappy child in the home. Because being able to hear screams and cries and all that should be pretty. Where was everyone there? Yeah.
I think when they interviewed some of the residents at the condo that they were staying at, they said they have heard the girl playing and all. But I can also just know anecdotally from friends who live in private condominiums and all, the culture of interacting with your neighbors and all, not always the most common.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And admittedly, even where I stay on our floor, there was someone else who had a young child, and the child used to cry a lot. We will meet downstairs, we see the child happy and all, but it reached a point where I'm like, okay, the crying, we were having a kid who was crying also, and it felt like, okay they are dealing with it So even if the neighbors heard the cries and all, I don't know whether they can see into the balcony where the daughter slept. But maybe it's also part of the culture that, you know how when COVID, we were talking about this, the trust in institutions. In Singapore, I think trust in institutions is damn high.
Yeah.
So yes, it allows, it gives the authorities and institutions the mandate to do things because people generally trust them. But in this case, one part where I think we can do better as a society is like, just be more questioning, more critical of things that maybe feel a bit off.
Yeah.
And don't always trust that the institutions and authorities will do what needs to be done.
Yeah. And what you say is true, that maybe some of the neighbors did hear the girl playing.
Yeah.
And they felt like, okay, it's just a case of like a very strict tiger mom or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I do remember last time I was helping a friend rehome a dog. And then we went to see the dog and everything. And yeah, the person who was like brought the dog down seemed perfectly normal, could even say that, because I'm going overseas for work, working in finance and things like that, right? So I'm leaving for London, not coming back for a while, so I have to give up this dog. But then I saw the dog, and the dog was like, very, not very well taken care of, not very well groomed, like smelled like pee and things like that, and a very big fluffy dog, right? And I was like, a bit suspicious. But after that, we helped to rehome the dog, and the dog was fine and happy now. But subsequently, I heard from someone that the person that was giving up actually had basically got in trouble with authorities here for some vice activities and was, I think, either like traveling to lay low or something like that. So he wasn't exactly working in finance in London or anything. No? So it's understood. And then I understood the context of why the dog probably wasn't well taken care of either.
Oh.
So my point is, in telling that story, is that even me,
dog lover,
or whatever, like you talk to people and sometimes you can't detect that something's off, right? Something's wrong about the story and all that. And some people are just very good at hiding that side of themselves. So I don't know what the circumstances were when they, talked to the mother and all these things, but maybe that's where you hope that the professional assessment made can, be made in time and in a timely manner to prevent the abuse and save a person's life. But I did want to ask you about one thing. You did mention, a lot of them had a chance to report the police earlier, and they should have, right, knowing everything. But to me, the extra frustrating thing is that the police report was finally made in January.
Yeah.
And that was a month before Megan passed, right?
Yeah.
So even with the police report made, right, there was like maybe 2 weeks of activity where they tried to contact the mother, couldn't reach. Then after that, the case was essentially put on ice for the next 6 months until a follow-up police report was made by the father or so, right? And that's where I was like, even if all the agencies do their utmost best to report the police, does it guarantee that her life would have been saved? That's the thing that really frustrates me about this case, is that we focus a lot on every agency what they do, but once you escalate it to that level already, still nothing happened, then isn't that then what else is there to do already?
I mean, that's true, because if you ask me, the common knowledge about the Singapore police force is every report, it will be investigated thoroughly, and it will come to a close after everything has been exhausted. That's what we are trained to believe, right? And that's why we hear calls, so don't just make a police report like that, because all the work will need to be done. But in this case, I think the IO got deployed for some COVID-related thing, and it just fell through the cracks.
So I mean, they say lessons learned from critical incidents should be routinely shared with community agencies to enhance practice. What I hope, the very least, that comes out of this, especially from the SPF side, is there is an episode of Crime Watch to talk about this case. Even though it might not paint the police in the best light based on what happened, right? But if you really want the community to learn from this and everything, Crime Watch is one of the most watched TV shows for the last 20 years in Singapore. Yeah, even today, I think. And the production value, everything has gone up. But you want to do a public service and really inform people how they can be more involved or report cases without having to resort to the family reporting the case and all that, right? I think that's something that they should look into. SPF has the resources to and can do more to help educate people about it.
Yeah, and I mean, and this is where it makes things a little, confusing, because on one hand, it feels like now there is a culture of parents getting too involved in how teachers and educational institutions interact with your kid. When we were growing up, it's like, parent want to meet teacher. The teacher has the leverage.
Yeah.
Now everything I've heard from parents and from teachers is like, wow, the parents get so involved and it makes the teacher's job very hard. But then when you see a case like this, it also makes me feel like, wait, can we trust these organizations to do their job? And it's just, it erodes the trust a lot. And the press conference and whatnot doesn't really do much to instill faith. I don't know whether there's going to be more stuff coming out. I mean, reading the reports, there have been new things that have been implemented. Like some of the recommendations from the panel is, centralized case management, create a review system for disputes about dealing with cases between agencies, clarify ACDA's role, clarify reporting rights, sharing of lessons and learning, and things that have been implemented since 2020 was the mandatory 24-hour reporting, new protocols for missing children, and all that. So, I mean, I guess now we just hope that these things make a difference. But the shocking thing for me was reading that one stat that since 2014, there have been 8 cases of children's death where the abuse was not known at the time of death. So, I mean, when I read that, I was like, oh shit, so this is not like a once in a generation kind of case. It happens a bit, quite often. So, wow, this is just very, I don't know whether this will be debated further, discussed further, dissected further, but oh my god, man.
Yeah.
It's just so sad.
Yeah. So, I mean, the press conference didn't instill a lot of confidence. It was very sad and quite frustrating to listen to. But how do you think they could have done it better?
Done it better. I mean, I guess maybe just the writing, the scripting of the messages or something, the delivery. I mean, it's all these kind of things that, you could say is superficial and all, but it just makes it a lot more palatable.
Yeah.
I think we have spoken about in the past about whether it's press conferences or leaders of organizations or politicians, the delivery matters a lot.
Yeah.
And you can say you're media trained and stuff like that, you pronounce everything well. No, this is the way you deliver it, the words you use have a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And that's where, looking at what Masagos was saying at the doorstop interview, I'm like, what is this? It's like, it feels like you're at some event.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just did a Control F and tried to look for I looked through the joint response and I just Control F failure and I realized, it was never mentioned once. Fail.
Was it? I mean,
failure,
to Masagos' credit, he's one of the few who said sorry.
Correct, but yeah.
But
that's the thing. See, I think maybe the language being more emphatic, I think is important. There's a lot of emphatic in what went wrong, right? Rather than just saying accept the review panel's recommendations and study how to implement them, and incident report could have been more detailed and timely and things like that. I mean, it just feels very bureaucratic.
Very bureaucratic,
and just like. Where's the? I mean, you said sorry, but where's the real the introspection, and really reflecting on what's wrong, right?
Yeah, and maybe just the emotion of that, Because at the end of the day, this one, anybody reads the case, it's terrible and almost like a comforting kind of tone,
Yeah.
Sounds very fuzzy. Sounds very like bleh, but it's a thing, And the press conference, but I mean, now everyone involved, everyone who's seen the footage, I personally know someone who was handling the case and it is traumatic. It is traumatic for them. So hope really this kind of thing doesn't ever happen again. I hope the couple get all they deserve in with the sentencing and all, and just tragic.
Harish and I just saw something shocking. Now, apparently, over 60% of viewers of this channel are not even officially subscribed. This has to be a mistake, right? We know you're out there because so many have come up to tell us how much the podcast means to them. So, how can we fix this? Do us a big favor and hit that subscribe button. It will mean a lot to us, and it's awesome to know that the 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏 community is only getting stronger every day. Thanks for listening. But, I mean, I guess something that is, I guess sad for our community, but not necessarily tragic, but sad for our community. What's happening in Marine Parade, right? And what is this event?
It is the news that the Marine Parade free shuttle service that started in July 2024 on a 1-year pilot is going to be discontinued as of 20th November 2025.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know whether we've spoken about the shuttle before, but most people know about the shuttle.
Yeah.
I think Minister of State for Culture, Community and Youth, Alvin Tan, who was the then Minister of State, he said the pilot cost about 1 million a year to operate, with 200,000 coming from a seed grant from the Southeast Community Development Council and the rest from donations and grassroots activities from the organizations within the Marine Parade, 𝗲𝗏𝗦𝗍 GRC. I mean, there have been reports before about the effectiveness of it, the ridership, the timing of it, given that it was launched like the year before elections happened. But when you saw this news, well, what were your thoughts, Terence?
I mean, the perception on the ground is that it's clearly like related to elections, right? And then rightly or wrongly, it led to Marine Parade having a walkover. But the truth is, I mean, I was just seeing Tan-See Leng, I think in April, he did say that the shuttle bus service was a 1-year pilot, right? And they would extend it a little bit and just monitor how it would go. But if ridership and all that was not up to par, or it wasn't serving the community as such, according to anecdotal evidence of people who drive past and all that, right? Then it needs to end, right? We shouldn't be, at least if we're not directly involved in it, we should not be lamenting them stopping the service if they find that it doesn't work for their community. But you outraged by this what happened here?
I mean, well, part of me that was outraged. But I would say only part, because okay, so I live in one of the areas that this goes.
So you see it?
I hardly ever see it on the road.
Okay. But it's not catered for you, right?
Yeah, but at least seeing it on the road, it's quite a visible thing with the sketches and all, right?
Yeah.
I think because it doesn't come like a regular bus, not that regularly, right? I mean, my mom lives in the area. She's 75. She doesn't really take this bus. She just gets around with normal buses. I guess it depends on the route, but as much as part of me was like, this one confirm elections, I think that's not the way to think about it, because at the end of the day, this was a pilot. This was an experiment.
Yeah.
And this is what we want more of, right?
Yeah.
If there's an idea, we pilot it. You want to try all these different things, universal basic income and all that, they all will need pilots.
Yeah.
So in this case, I think it's very easy to say, it's an election only thing. It's almost cathartic saying that. But I think, like what you said, if it's a pilot, I assume there were metrics put out to evaluate how effective it is. And this, from what you read, it was a grant, and it was funds from the GRC itself.
Donations, right?
Yeah, it didn't pull any other kind of funds.
Yeah.
You can argue that maybe it resulted in other ideas not going forward, but that's the thing with pilots, right?
Yeah.
So I think, if it has to end, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. And I think, we lament the fact that every time they built all these new MRT stations open, after that they reduce the bus services or bus lines because they overlap and things like that. And we lament that, right? So some people are saying that this bus service overlaps with a lot of other bus services, public transport bus services and all, because it's free. That's why it's obviously that it's being used to buy votes and stuff. But I do feel, we can't have both, right?
Yeah.
We can't be lamenting the loss of bus services, but then when they pilot something new, or at least try a new model for something, then we are like, hey, this is just buying votes,
Yeah.
Because I have been reading about some pretty interesting public transport initiatives around the world. I think Montpellier, a city in France, in late 2023, they piloted free public transport for everyone.
Oh, is it?
So I read about it in a magazine, then I went to look it up, and yeah, it's true. Is that the mayor, I think he's a socialist mayor, and he decided, he started off free public transport on weekends, then free public transport for under 18s and over 65s. And now they are in the stage, free public transport for everyone except foreigners. And then you get a bus card and all these
things. And how is it? Any success rates or?
So it's been about a year. I think the biggest question is how is it being funded, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like it is, they are able to get funding, whether it's on a national level. I think they levied a new tax on any company with more than 11 employees for public transport, which, if you have a lot of employees, more than 11, right, they need to get to your office somehow. And free public transport is for everyone. But there, of course, there are the criticisms. People are like, oh, how about invest? Will they invest to keep up, maintain the public transport enough? Do we have to, taxpayers have to pay more, and does it take away from other services, right? But if anything, it brought a lot of publicity to the city. I think the city is trying to be, trying to attract startups and everything as well. That's not the only place that did it. I think there's this city in, I think the capital, Tallinn of Estonia, also did like free public transport for all. I think Luxembourg as well. So all these European cities are trying different things to, attract people to come. And what I hear is like, for Tallinn in Estonia, it attracts people to register their living, that they live in the capital, so that taxes need to be paid to the capital, as opposed to another precinct.
Yeah, there's something about that. Like you can apply to be a citizen of Estonia or something like that.
Citizen, like if you stay in the outskirts of the city and then your address is on the outskirts of the city, to be able to enjoy the free public transport, you have to register that you're a resident in the city. And then therefore your taxes also have to go to the city instead.
Oh, I see.
So they said that it's just a cynical attempt to get more taxes from people. But I mean, all these are interesting, right? Like in terms of thinking of how it adds vibrancy to a city or attracts a different kind of people. And yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, oh, free shuttle, interesting concept, worth trying out. And I'm sure now they have some like numbers and metrics, and there's more to plan.
And I mean, 𝗬𝗏𝗧 did say that after the internal review feedback, they will not extend the contract at this time, but they will introduce more targeted programs, which they will be announcing soon. So, I mean, it feels like, okay, this doesn't stop here. And I mean, I think it's important that we embrace the culture of experimentation. We've spoken so much about like the lack of vision, the lack of a thing and all. But this culture of experimentation, where things are experimented, sure, you can enjoy it for 1 year. You might not enjoy it. I think that needs to be more part of our DNA. Yeah, you try something. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's like, even we have learned over time with 𝗬𝗏𝗏 or any other thing. You just experiment. If something sticks, but you don't get welded to the idea. So this one, I mean, as easy as it is to shit on the timing and all, I think if assuming that the metrics really don't make sense, then okay lah.
Yeah.
Like that lah.
But how about the concept of fairness though? Like, how come 𝗻𝗡 got this for 16 months and nowhere else in Singapore got it?
So I mean, from what I understand, it was proposed by the CDC there, and every other CDC is free to propose these sort of pilots. And then they need to find a way to fund it lah. Which again goes back to we want more grassroots stuff, right? So it helps that maybe this GRC was damn big, but when it was announced, the electoral boundaries had not been redrawn.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
So even that argument that it's a huge thing, no, back then it was just 𝗻𝗡 lah.
Yeah.
So then it was absorbed, then they extended it a bit. So of course there are many ways to say that, oh, you increase the size of GRC, then you got shuttle more of Singapore. There are many ways to look at it lah.
Yeah.
But the fairness for you?
I mean, I think given that it was a pilot, you have to do it in a place where there's a demand, that you would imagine there's demand for it. Like,
old people.
Older people, right? In the estate that you live in, all that, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a legitimate thing. I like there are certain things where like Tampines has the cycling lanes and stuff like that.
Yeah, correct.
So it depends on the space as well, and can't be a one size fits all approach.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, hopefully there are more pilots like this lah. And if people get access to the pilots, enjoy it while it lasts. But also know that it might go away anytime.
Correct. Yeah, it needs to be paid for by somebody.
Yeah, man. Cool.
But yes, wow, what a heavy episode.
Yeah.
What is your one Shiok? I mean, at least what a Shiok comment.
Shiok comment.
Yeah.
You have yours?
I believe so. Let me just, I have it. 𝗎𝗏𝗦𝗍𝗍𝗏 on the last episode just said that, wait, let me just pull that up. Said that your ladies' night chat is cracking us up, cracking me up. Both of you can form the 𝗲𝗏𝗏 Nightlife Rejuvenation Task Force.
What was it?
Because I think we were making a joke about how about ladies' night vis-a-vis the men's club. There was that was happening at Singapore Cricket Club.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we talked a lot about nightlife in Singapore.
Yeah.
So seems like people now think that we should be part of the 𝗙𝗏𝗧 Nightlife Rejuvenation Task Force alongside Minister Shanmugam also, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, do I have a one Shiok comment in particular? I would say for this episode, what my one Shiok thing is that now I'm so heartened to see that there are almost more posts by people other than us on our own Reddit. Which is great. Like, people are just sharing articles and writing a lot of longer posts and thoughts. And I think that's great. I'm looking like the past 10 posts, I think maybe 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it's becoming a third space.
Third space.
Yeah. So I mean, generally good discussions, people disagreeing civilly and all. So I guess my one Shiok comment is just the comments on Reddit. Cool. And what about your one Shiok thing, man?
My one Shiok thing is a video that I saw on this YouTube channel called 𝗙𝗏𝗧 Magazine. And it's basically, the title of the video is How to See the Fourth Dimension with Topology. So it's an interesting video. So, I mean, if you're a bit of a math nerd or physics nerd, you might find this interesting. But I thought it was for me, even in spite of all my interest on it, it's wrapping my head around the fourth dimension and how it looks in the third dimension has been difficult, right? But I think this video has the best instance of an academic who is able to explain it as clear as possible, like I'm a elementary school, a primary school student, right? So it's a female academic as well who was able to explain something so complex and so abstract in a very easy to understand, elegant way. I felt like this was worth 12 minutes of my time to really just sit down and just listen to a mathematician explain how the fourth dimension looks to us in the third dimension.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Because I know a few months ago you read this book about the line from the dot and that one and all, right?
Yeah, but that was fun. That was like fictional thing. But this one is like she explains to you the math and at least like how to think about it or how she thinks about it. And it's still not easy. Yeah. But it's like the clearest explanation I've seen so far.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah. It's a 12-minute video.
12-minute video, yeah.
Okay, cool. My one Shiok thing is, I mean, right now, there's the mayoral elections in New York.
Yes.
It's going to happen, I think, in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So just last night, they had the second debate. I'm halfway through the first debate. And it's basically between three people. Zohran Mamdani, who is, he's been in the state assembly for, I think, 5 years, but he has never been a politician, like very young guy. Then there's the former New York governor Andrew Cuomo, who was the governor during COVID, and the Republican 𝗪𝗖𝗓 𝗦𝗂𝗏. And it's a 2-hour debate.
Jeez.
And I mean, the way they do it, it's not like any of our Singapore political debates. It's three of them standing at podiums with three moderators. And it's damn fascinating the way they do it, because they really don't hold back. Even if they got questions beforehand, the moderators actually follow up, and they fact check, like if they say something, they're like, okay, just going back to what you said, we fact check, and yes, you do have a lawsuit and all, and they push back. And what is interesting is the format. Like, I think they are each given 1 minute to respond to questions which the moderators will ask, but anytime they invoke the name of another one of the two candidates, that candidate has the right to respond. And it's damn fascinating to watch, because they are all so different. And the way they deliver, and it's funny like the 𝗪𝗧𝗧 𝗦𝗂𝗏, he's like a older white dude who's been doing grassroots for 30 years, and he keeps getting the name of Zohran wrong He's like, Zahid, you have, then Zohran's like, it's Zohran. So that was the first debate. I haven't watched the second debate, but it's also interesting, like they were asked about how Zohran Mamdani wants to fund his free bus idea, freeze rent, and he'll go to, and then he'll say, okay, tell us how much you spent on groceries last week. And then they just go down there. And then they'll ask some tough questions and like, okay, what is your monthly mortgage or rental? And then they go through. So it's kind of, it's fascinating to watch. And I think Zohran Mamdani is leading in the polls. He's 34 years old, dude.
Yeah, he's young.
Yeah, he's young. And just now, you say Montpellier is doing the free transport. He's also like a democratic socialist. So, it's damn interesting to watch. And it makes you think, okay, this is what we need in Singapore, these sort of debates. Because you really see the mettle of them in terms of how to deal with being asked questions head on.
And clash of ideas.
Of ideas. And you can decide for yourself who says stuff and all, but even if you don't know the context, just watching the dynamic is very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, man.
Cool.
That's the final episode of the week. So remember, if you enjoyed this podcast, if you found it useful, emotional, if it made you think, please recommend it to at least one other person. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, and Telegram. And we have a weekly newsletter called Your Little Bit, where we consolidate all our One Shiok Things for that week.
And if you want to work with us as well, email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com or just check out ministryoffunny.com.
Sweet. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll talk to you all soon.